it's extremely difficult to have an existing funeral home brand and be all in on a online cremation brand. Kind of see in the staff is trained to upsell for funeral service and make sure that they go to final placement at the cemetery, when their cremation brand clients should have a completely different experience, and the sales tactics used with them should be completely different and a lot more hands off in my view. So it just made me think about the success of those types of businesses that are trying to capture cremation volume with a subsidiary of their funeral home, rather than actually believing that it's like the end all be all growth option for their business. Right. I don't know if you have any comments on that, but I
think that what we've seen is the most successful customers that are full service operators and have a cremation brand is they have dedicated staff. That are usually dedicated to the online brand versus the, obviously they'll help out, they'll make adjustments when needed, but for the most part, this manager is managing this brand, this manager is managing that brand. They obviously share resources, they share the crematory, they share stuff like that, but for the most part, there is a way to do business and a manager here, and there's a way to do business and a manager here, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's what we've seen be successful. When you have the types where it's, we have this brand, but it's the same exact people, it just doesn't work.
Yeah.
If I were to start a cremation brand, I think that my mantra would be basically that I want as many direct cremation families as I can sustainably handle at the price I've advertised. Right. I want as many, I want unlimited.
At 5-star.
I want as many of those as I can. Not I only want some that aren't going to go to my competitors. No, it's I want to dominate this market, right? You don't necessarily have to have those plans for world domination, but the mindset that you have to have when going and approaching a family needs to be like that. I want this family, and I'm okay, and I'm happy, more than happy to serve them at the price that I have advertised. I don't feel like I'm missing out on something if I don't upsell them onto witness and a burial or whatever. I have to be happy with what the service I'm providing is. And I just want as many of those as possible. If I get 1,000 of them tomorrow and I can actually serve that 1,000, I'm more than happy with that. Right. I think all too often we see the defensive mode of I don't want my competitors to have this. We're losing them to our competitors. So I'm going to start this brand to combat that. But
it's really at the detriment to the team that's trying to execute this on your behalf. It's you're pulling that your brands are talking out of different sides of the same mouth. And the people meant to actually serve these families are confused about what tactics they should use because you're double dipping. And inevitably you're going to get upset because they didn't handle something that you would have handled differently. And they said, well, I'm getting pulled in 2 different directions here and you're trying to have your cake and eat it too. So Tyler, what you said is know who you're serving and know who you're not serving and make sure that that's clear to your team. They're going all in on what you do and that you're out of what you don't do. That's it. Right.
For sure.
We're going to be 5-star experiences for direct cremation families is what we do. Then that's what you do.
Yeah.
I have a question for you, Will and Ashley. When you guys were at your cremation brands, was it ever a push to try to include more and more services every time, or was it more about refining what you had?
It's interesting because I'd say my goal was to mitigate services, and COVID actually helped me accomplish that. And COVID forcing us into that paradigm shift, it actually proved my thesis that I had prior to COVID, which was you'd get the same or more families at the same level of experience, 5-star experience, with a narrower service focus. I think I was always fighting against my team members who were like, hey, I had a family that wanted a lock of hair, or they wanted handprints in clay or thumbprints on this. And they want to do whatever the family wants them to do, which is not what I, as a business person, really want to do at all. So it's kind of a push and pull between what should you be adding, and how do you actually create a scorecard around what gets put into that Overton window of what you serve and what you don't serve. I would have preferred to minimize products and services even more than we did. And some people would say that that's wrong or bad for families. But I would just respond by saying, I choose how we serve families. And if families don't respond to that, then I'll fail as a business.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. Yeah, for me, it was more so we were still a full service funeral home, even though primarily we did direct cremations, we were still full service.
Same.
So we were still, doing traditional funerals here and there. We were still doing, a good number of graveside funerals.
Yeah.
However, what we started to see was that our staff got really, really good at direct cremations because that we were doing primarily. And with newer graduates from the program never having done a traditional funeral, it got more and more challenging to actually have staff have that know-how and have the right skills to do that because we didn't do them frequently enough where it was our main business. So we weren't able to, train them on a whole lot of traditional funerals. So we did get to the point where it was like, we're going to need to segment things. We're going to have staff that really does cremations. And then we're going to have some staff that's going to meet with our traditional clients. So it does become a challenge at some point. I also am with Will. I don't know that had we said, you know what, we're only going to do cremations, that it like what impact that would have had. I think it would have helped the staff be a little bit more efficient because there's just kind of no question they can kind of hone in on that skill set even more so and not have to juggle, a traditional funeral at the same time, which is just a different animal, so to speak. There's way more details involved, way more touch points, churches to call, cemeteries to call, things to do. It's just, it requires far more attention than an online direct cremation case. So, yeah, I think that honing in on what you are going to offer is a great idea. And I don't know that it has massive impact, or at least I don't think it would have at Crown. And sounds like Will doesn't think maybe it would have at Omega either.
I think the all-in mindset on what you offer and talking about it every day with your team will just build the culture you want to see out of your team.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to get the best out of them by just saying, hey, this is what we do, and explain to them why what you do is valuable. Like we offer 5-star experiences with tremendous amount of empathy and compassion at $1,100. You should feel good about coming into the office and providing a cremation for half of the price of the national average so that you know that every family you serve, you're not breaking them and they're not going into debt trying to pay for end of life arrangements,
Yeah.
And that's something that a normal, empathetic, and compassionate person will find rewarding, and you're just not saying, hey, your purpose and your value is selling this many urns, getting this much commission, or getting this type of family to choose this type of service. Communicate the value proposition and why what you're doing and what you're offering at that price is valuable to the people you're serving. And if it's valuable to 5,000 people, that should tell you something about people's preferences.